Buncombe County had a record-breaking year in 2018 for its midterm elections. With more than 119,000 voters, an election of this size takes preparation from a talented team at Election Services. In this episode of Behind the Scenes, we are going to follow Election Services staff as they prepare to tackle this historic midterm election. We will go from primary to general election, showing you all the moving parts, from hiring and training poll workers to setting up more than 90 voting sites and more.
Yes, this was a record-breaking election for us. Usually in midterm elections of this sort, we will vote anywhere between 45 and 50% of the voters. We actually voted 60% of the voters this time, so it was definitely a record-breaking election. We have about 200,000 registered voters. We can use as many as 500 election workers on election day. Anywhere from, say, 80 to 250 early voting workers. The number of pieces of paper that we deal with is really hard to calculate, but minimum we deal with about 400,000 pieces of paper in a small election and closer to 3 million during a big election. Well, in the months before an election, a lot of people don't think about this, but our worst months, our heaviest, most stressful months are August and the early part of September, because that's when we're putting everything into place. We're getting the early voting locations, we're getting contracts signed, we're making sure everybody's voter record is in, we're doing all of those prep and planning things that you have to do. So that's really a stressful time for us and a busy time for us. We actually have to account for every single piece of paper that is used on election day or during early voting. The state board says, Trina, you've got 400,000 voters here, I'm just pulling that number, in the computer. You must have 400,000 ballots. So, I would love for people to know that we actually reconcile and balance every single piece of paper that's signed out there, every ballot that's marked. We reconcile and balance until perfection. It is long hours, it's stressful.
We're supposed to send in how many voters? Thank you for coming in. Ready? Yes. Okay. On top of that, ready?
Early voting workers go through an extensive week of training. Depending on their level of experience, they will be trained for at least 12 hours, sometimes 30 to 40 hours, as I said, depending on their experience and depending on the year. Election day workers attend approximately a 4 to 5 hour training. There's additional hours on top of that, picking up supplies, going over the last minute instructions. They are truly the stars of our elections. We do our very, very best to always improve on the process. The service that we provide to voters is extremely important to us. We feel like the better the service we provide to them, the easier the voting experience can be for them, then the more they will vote, the more they will come back, the more people out there in the population will make sure and get registered and make sure and vote. So that's a very key element of what we do here. Our responsibilities begin with voters, making sure that their records are correct, making sure that we have them in the right precinct, making sure that their jurisdictions are correct. Then, of course, we have to file the candidates, make sure that the candidates file their appropriate campaign finance reports. We audit those reports. We work with them to make sure they get it right. And then, creating the ballot and making sure that's perfect and everybody's name is spelled correctly, and then ultimately making sure that we have enough sites, we have supplies, we have trained workers, and then making sure that what they do out there on election day is guided by the laws of North Carolina, the election laws that we've tried to teach them. And there are a lot. It's a complex job that they have out there. So, and then at the end of the night, counting, making sure every eligible voter had a ballot, got the correct ballot. Every voter that asked for an absentee ballot got an absentee ballot. And so that, in the end, when we finally certify the election, that everyone wanted to vote, got to vote. The eligible voters that were out there that wanted to vote got to vote. So, and making sure that we're a presence out in the community so that people know when they can go, what they can do, all that good stuff. It's very hard. I was thinking of a couple of the challenges that we have, and that's our number one challenge, is finding workers that are willing to spend, their time working an election, willing to do the study that's required, do the homework that's required, and work a computer and be organized. And it's a long day. So that is our biggest challenge, is recruiting workers. Most people have jobs or they have children. So it's hard to recruit workers for election day.
People that are, that are wanting to really vote until 7:30, perhaps it's 5 minutes.
Which Catherine K?
One of the other challenges with this past election, in addition to the volume of voters that showed up to vote, was also the extended early voting hours. Recently, the General Assembly changed the early voting hours to a 7 a.m. to a 7 p.m. day. So that's a 12-hour day minimum. Between setup and then, closing up at the end of the night, it was a 16-hour day for everybody. So that was a big challenge, just keeping up with that longer schedule with the staff that we have. The increased numbers didn't, certainly that always challenges you a little bit more, but I can't say that we were challenged that much because we always prepare for 100% turnout. We're always the optimists. We always prepare for a lot of people showing up. So we were just happy that the amount of people did show up. Sure, it's a lot of work, but we were ready for it. We are so lucky in Buncombe County to have the election staff that we do. They all are extremely dedicated. They love their work. And they're just super duper fun and honest and easy to work with. And we just have a wonderful team. A couple of things that we would love for voters to know it would help us if they would check their information every year. Before an election that you're going to participate in, make sure we have your right address. Make sure we have your right party affiliation. Just check up on your registration. That would be helpful to us. The other thing I'd love for people to know is that sometimes you need to treat your voting experience like a doctor's appointment. You have to be prepared. You have to know where to go. You have to know whether or not you have to take something. Just be prepared to do your homework. Be ready to make your choices when you get there. So the more you do that, the more you're helping your whole community vote. We're always trying to improve, especially our service to the voters. This past year, we've put together a weight map that is on our website that voters can use during early voting. They can look at the different early voting locations and see which voting location has the least number of voters in line so that they can plan their visit. We extended that to election day, and there's 24 people in line at 10 a.m. And, they may say, well, I don't have enough time to wait in line, so I'll wait a little bit later in the day, check it again after lunch, and there's 5 voters in line. But that information is out there. You can see how many voters are in line throughout the day and plan your visit. The bottom line is that voting is a community effort. It's important to the community because obviously we want to elect the officials that we want to guide our community. Of course, that's the important thing. We have to have the help of the schools. to let us in, and the fire departments and the community centers. People to work the elections, to take the time and say, hey, this is important. I need to be involved in this and know what's going on. And find out about elections. Don't let it be a mystery in your life. Find out that they actually do count absentees. They actually do count provisionals. And so everybody needs to think about the fact that this is important and we all need to contribute towards it. There are a lot of mysteries around elections that I do wish that people knew more of those details, and so that they would trust the process. And if someone asks you to work a precinct or to be a poll greeter or to open your doors to let election workers in for training for an election day or early voting site, we hope that you'll join us and help us carry off an election. Elections are like anything else. They change constantly. We have, right now, we have voter ID that's beginning. We have new absentee laws that are being drafted right now. So, and I guarantee you between now and when 2020 hits, there'll be additional changes. Also looking forward to 2020, we're going to need the help of the community. We need voting locations that are huge. We're going to be looking for early voting locations that are as big as we can find them. So if you have a facility, or if you're associated with a facility that might lend itself well to that, give us a shout. We're also asking for college students. If they want to give a day, we actually pay, but we need energy. We need the next generation to join us. Also, if you're a teacher and you know that you have students that seem very interested in what's going on, if your classroom's talking, once again, the election staff loves to host groups. We love to give tours to students. The more of us that are involved, the more transparent the election is, and the more we own it. So we would encourage you to get involved in 2020, help us. We've got a lot of new and exciting laws and changes that will be coming, and we look forward to it.